thing this year. TV is the thing this year. Radio is great, but it's out of date. TV is the thing this year.
It's the thing this year. You've got 27 and a half minutes now, monkeys. The phone number is, we got it down 919, Carol. Got it down 919-996-6775. Of course, we're going to talk about the Democratic Party's sexual harassment scandal. Why am I smiling? This is not funny. It's so freaking funny. but no, for real people's lives are involved here, Carol. I can't believe you. It's really funny, not funny, haha. Carol, can we show them the soundtrack to Good Night and Good Luck? There it is. There was a movie, George Clooney produced it, and maybe he directed it, about Edward R. Murrow and CBS News and McCarthy era and everything. And honestly, it's beautiful, it's black and white, everybody smokes cigarettes like they're going out of style, which they were, but they didn't know it back then. It plays really fast and loose with the truth and really valorizes the old broadcaster Edward R. Murrow in ways he was late to the game against McCarthy. Really. Don't let anybody believe that the turning point came when, you know, when Edward R. Murrow did his little documentary on McCarthy. No, the movie plays a little fast and loose with the truth, and that bugs me about history movies. All right, but Diane Reeves, that voice, and it's a small group jazz setting where the voice and the piano and the drum, you know, they're all just instruments working together. You know what I mean, Carol? When you say that vocal jazz. Okay, all right, that vocal jazz. What? Synergy, you know, and they're all working together. There's just a couple of those vocal jazz albums that really, really just do it for me. Actually, more than a couple, but when they do it, when everything's all working together and the voice is just another instrument, can't beat that. Plus, she's singing about the new invention, TV. That was a real song. They didn't make that up for the movie. Okay, so what do we have to talk about, Carol? First, yeah. This is really funny. Now, today's NNO, Dems want chairman to quit. Can you see that? Dems want chairman to quit, and Dave Parker is expected to resign. Now, expected by who? Well, by the NNO reporters, right? But they didn't have any evidence, Carol. They just, you know, they felt the accumulated groundswell and all these Democratic leaders, Bev Perdue, and there's no way. Well, right before I came here, you may have heard this already, right before I came here, it got posted to the NNO site a little bit before 6 p.m., that Dave Parker's going, I'm going to stay. And Carol, part of me kind of likes that. Part of me is like, yeah, because I remember how they screwed over Acorn with a bunch of lies, and the Dems ran running and joined the Republicans to crush a group based on what later we found out was very, very manipulated evidence, and the whole organization did good work and didn't deserve that. And then Shirley Sherrod, right? The brief little snippet of stuff that was threatened to air on Fox News of her speech that was totally taken out of context. They immediately, Obama's people, they denied it, but it was them, forced her to resign, right? And then when the truth came out, which is that little snippet, Brent Bozell and all those people, or not Bozell, what was his name, Andrew Breitbart, that little snippet had nothing to do with what she actually said. It's like, how many times do we have to learn this lesson? Now, unfortunately, this time, so my first point is we don't know everything yet. And so, you know, we've already got one guy down who's like leaving the scene of the alleged, you know, crime is such a strong word. And now here's David Parker saying, I'm not going to just crumble right away and resign. I have the full support of the Executive Council, which is the smaller group of Democrats around him, the state treasurer, the state Democratic Party treasurer, and other folks. And I have and we're going to put it to a vote in June when the 700-member executive committee of statewide Democratic activists meets in June. So on the one hand, Carol, I'm very excited that David Parker is like, no, I'm not going to just immediately fall on my sword and collapse at the first sign of scandal, you know, and the glee from the right wing on this one is, well, I mean, it's kind of obvious, and understandable, actually. You know, the same glee that they're feeling, Carol, is the, oh my God, I can't believe this is what we're dealing with 2 weeks before the primary election. I can't believe this, 3 weeks actually. You know, I mean, that just, and their glee are inversely proportional to one another. But while I can respect that the NNO decided already he was resigning, Carol, this morning. And, well, because it's obvious he was going to resign. There's no way. And he says, no, I'm not going to resign. I kind of like that. However, if we try to reconstruct what's actually what we know for sure, there's not a whole lot that we know. And I mean, Carol, can I speculate a little bit in perhaps an unfair way? Here's what happened. Jay Parmalee, I think that's how you pronounce his name, right? Was not the state chairman of the state Democratic Party, not the chairman, but the executive director. He was hired by David Parker, the guy that just refused to resign. Jay Parmalee was accused of sexually harassing a young 24-year-old staffer, male. Because it's juicier because it's same-sex, Carol. Yeah. Whatever. It's the same old story, if it's true. And when the young staffer, now all this that we're hearing has come from activists within the party. Activists within the party are where all this information is coming from. I know the right-wingers want us to believe that it's all there, they've exposed this, but no. All of this has come out because, Carol, Democrats were like, wait a minute, this is a problem. So that's the first thing. Activists within the party, in fact, we might as well say Perry Woods this weekend called for Parker to resign and Parmalee to resign. Basically, he's told a version of the story of what happened that I'm not real clear on myself, but that is pretty much the only narrative out there right now. And that he was, when the kid complained, he's 24, that's a kid to me. When the kid complained about his boss sexually harassing him, he was called in to a room. He didn't have any counsel or any lawyer or anything like that, and was offered the settlement right then and there and said, you either have to take it or not. Now, who knows exactly how, you know, this is me third hand from third hand, right? So, I mean, this is what the comments on the Democratic blogs are saying. Some people are really angry at Perry Woods for bringing this up. I think it took a lot of guts. Perry Woods, you know, thumbs up to you for saying this needs to stop and we need to do something about this if it's true. And it looks like it is. So last fall, this incident happened and there was some sort of deal, Carol, and we really don't know what the payment was or what, some sort of deal that required all parties concerned to shut up. That's heartening, isn't it, Carol? So that's what we know. Now, of course, anybody with half a brain says, okay, there was a payment, and one condition to paying Adrian was that he can't talk to anybody about this. And when you do that kind of non-disclosure agreement, the other people, of course, they don't want to talk to anybody about it, so they make sure they sign it, right? And so they say they can't talk about it, but we know that they had some kind of deal that required that. So the obvious thing is there was a payment. But again, we're making an assumption. And when that happened, a longtime Democratic Party person, this is when it really blew up, Sally Leslie. And reading blogs and talking to people active in the party, you know, I get the very strong sense that Sally Leslie, who resigned in late February, was like the key, that may be a bit strong, a key person in terms of the administrative running of the state Democratic headquarters, the party headquarters. And so when she resigned, it caused a huge stink. Now this was in February. And so this roiled the party, and people have been talking about this for a while. And of course, rumor got out for, you know, back in December, I think the NNO said that they had tried to get some people to comment about what was going on. And so there's an open question here of what did the NNO reporters know? Because they've been in the habit, NNO reporters have been in the habit of covering up stuff like this in the past. When Cary representative, state representative David Minor, was gay and closeted, and the NNO basically everybody pretty much knew it, and they covered for him for years. Even The Independent covered for him for years in really obvious ways. So whenever there's something gay sex related, there's this weird kind of double standard that happens with reporters. They don't want to go there. So, you know, it's an open question at how much Rob Christensen, say, knew about what really happened and how many columns he wrote, how many articles he wrote, ignoring what really happened until, when did this blow up, Carol? Last week, right? End of last week. Sally Leslie talks to WRAL about why she quit. This longtime party activist, been there for years and years and years. And she drops this casual word, predator. I couldn't work somewhere where the people, I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not paraphrasing about predator, where the people were protecting a predator. I couldn't work there anymore. Now, is she overreacting, Carol? You know, what really went on between the 24-year-old kid, Adrian, and Jay, the executive director of the State Democratic Party? Jay denies everything. He denies any kind of harassment.
Is Jay married to a woman?
Jay is, well, nobody really, I don't know whether Jay is a closet case or not, but what a way to get outed, huh?
Yeah.
What a way to get outed. If Jay Parmalee is gay and has been keeping it quiet, or is maybe, Carol, he's one of those, well, it doesn't matter. It's like, no. Closet cases in positions of power in political organizations are a problem always. Now, I don't know if that's true here, but if it is true that Parmalee's gay and closeted, or bi and was closeted, that would certainly, in my view, factor in to, yeah, pay him. Because I don't even want to have to deal with the accusation publicly because nobody knows I'm gay because I'm closeted. Now, this is pure speculation, but that's all we have to go on because nobody at the Democratic Party is talking. They won't even say if there's been a settlement, right? It's an employment thing, they say. We can't do anything. We can't say anything. And you know what? You can say a number of things and probably come close, but not run afoul of employment law. That's my guess. That there are a number of things you could say to, yes, there was an episode, and yes, we think we've handled it, or whatever. But instead, they're circling the wagons around this legal thing that I think is, they're making a little more rigid than it has to be. And they're refusing to talk. And all that does is open it wide up. Now, now we get serious. Where did the money come from? I'm assuming that the presence of the non-disclosure agreement means that there was a monetary settlement. If you disagree with that, I understand, but I think it's an obvious assumption to make at this point. Where did the money come from? There's no way that that money could have come from the party legally and not show up on the reporting that the party's required to do. That's my understanding. There's no way that that could have involved the treasurer and all the other people at the upper levels of the party and be legal and not get reported. So, where did the money come from? Well, maybe there was a wealthy, all these parties have these wealthy donors they can tap in situations like this, right, Carol? Like John Edwards and his buddy who paid off Rael and paid for the house. Everybody in politics has a rich friend that they can call in a favor for, this kind of favor for. So do the Dems have rich people that they can say, hey, we need a little bit of money here. Sorry, we're just going to keep it real quiet. Everybody's going to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Word will never get out. Is that what happened? That seems plausible to me. Or is there an existing slush fund? Oh my God, Carol, a political party in North Carolina with a slush fund. What a crisis. A gay scandal slush fund. Say that 3 times fast. You know, okay, I mean, let's be real here. The Republican Party has slush fund funds too that they can use, right? I mean, we all know. I'm not equating everything. I'm just saying slush funds are a fact of life. They can get the money if they need the money. But the fact remains that it wouldn't be legal, is my understanding, if they did this. So where did the money come from is a very legitimate question. And I think that party activists who are in, and I'm just a gay independent voter, a registered independent, still debating whether I should vote against Paul Coble in the Republican primary. Because as a registered independent, monkeys, you can do that. I can choose. They're going to say, which one do you want to vote in, the Democratic or Republican primary? Which ballot do you want? So I'm really looking forward to voting against Paul Coble. We'll see what the polls are with on the Democratic side. Because honestly, I don't like Bob Etheridge very much. I think he's damaged goods. Remember that video, Carol, where he grabbed that kid who was trying to film him? I mean, you know, just grabbed him, wouldn't let him go. It looked like he'd had a 3-martini lunch. In my personal opinion, that's what it looked like. And he just was out of control. Not completely, but enough. And all they're going to have to do is show that over and over and over again in the election in November. And you know what? It's going to hurt, and Etheridge will go down. So I'm looking at the other two guys. And Dalton looks like he's been ahead of the curve on a bunch of stuff. So I don't know. We'll look at them a little more closely next week. But what was I saying? Oh yeah. So I'm still debating whether to vote in the Republican primary or not. But I'm a gay independent voter. I'm not active in Democratic Party circles. I don't have the inside scoop on this. But it seems to me that people defending Parker here are kind of being stupid. Because unless you really believe that nothing happened, you could. I don't. And I know it's early. It's still early. On what are we basing this? Well, there was a settlement. Well, and the other guy resigned. Was he a closet case? I don't know. That screams danger to me. Closet cases in these positions scream danger. If he was gay and nobody knew it, I could totally see this being a real scenario here. Again, all speculation. But this isn't going to go away. These kind of scandals never do. So what happens if the eyewitness, supposedly, to some of this stuff comes forward? That person is not subject to, and maybe it's Sally, I don't know. That person is not subject to any non-disclosure agreement.
They did sign?
Well, I'm guessing. The person that signed would have been, who got paid, would have been Adrian, the kid, and the other people that signed would have been Dave Parker and Jay Parmalee, right? Did Sally sign a non-disclosure agreement? I doubt it. She's already speaking, right? So did anybody witness any of this? Are there more people to come forward? These things never, never, never go away on their own. They just don't. So on the one hand, I'm excited that Dave Parker's like, no, I'm going to fight it. We're going to stick this out, and I'm going to let the people decide, the Democratic Party activists decide in June. On the other hand, the longer he continues this and refuses to talk, the more damage it's going to do. We know this, Carol. That's how these things work. All right. So that to me, it just seems to me, and this is right before the Amendment 1 vote. So put up number 8 there, Carol. Yeah, eyes on the prize, monkeys. Remember, we spent too much time on this, but remember. Amendment 1 is coming up on the ballot May 8th. There are not going to be a whole lot of voters out this year. The Republican primary is dead in the water. Nobody really gives a crap about the Democratic gubernatorial primary, I'm sorry, except for those hardcore party faithful. It's going to be a very, very, very small vote. Remember when the Republicans took over the Wake County School Board? It was a teeny percentage of voters. The percentage was just a small handful of people eligible to vote. And that same number, it's going to be a low percentage again this year. So just a few thousand people across the state can make a huge difference. So here's the key. Amendment 1's language is unique and strange. The only domestic legal union, right? What is it? Legal domestic union? Domestic legal union? Domestic legal union. Nobody knows what that means. Nobody, that's untested legal language. This is going to result in a huge raft of lawsuits that's going to affect straight unmarried people too. We're seeing this. Now, this will all get sorted out eventually in the courts, but why do this? Why open that up? The second key thing, aside from this really vague, ridiculous new language that nobody really understands what it means, the second thing is that the parents of kids, partners of parents. In other words, you've got somebody who's working for the city of Durham or Chapel Hill, gets their health insurance through their job, their spouse, their same-sex spouse or domestic partner, gets their health insurance through the spouse's job or the partner's job, just a couple places around the state, their kids get health insurance. The first result, if Amendment 1 passes, is they're going to go right after those domestic partner benefits. The anti-gay folks are going to go right after those domestic partner benefits coming from government agencies.
What happened to the straight ones too, though? There's unmarried straight couples that have that.
Carol says there's unmarried straight couples that have that too, and they could go after that as well. Yeah, and that's why it's all going to there's going to be lawsuits. And divorces and all kinds of other custody and when estates, all kinds of stuff is going to get thrown up in the air over this, from domestic legal unions, domestic relationships in the law. What does that even mean? They don't even know. But the first thing they're going to go after, the very first thing, is the domestic partner benefits in Chapel Hill and Durham, and that means kids of those couples are going to lose their health insurance.
They did the same thing in 1875 to black and white interracial couples, and it took 100 years to get it off the Constitution.
Carol said they did the exact same thing to black and white interracial couples in 1875, and it took 100 years to get it off the Constitution.
1977 before it finally was off the books.
In North Carolina.
In North Carolina.
1977 before it was finally off the books that those were not legitimate relationships. Okay. Eventually, we can hope it's going to go to the Supreme Court and we will win, but you know, who knows? So just get a few people out on May 8th, that's all. Eyes on the prize, right? Eyes on the prize. All right. Now, back to the salacious news. No, I don't want to do that. How was it handled, though? How was it handled? I really want to know how they handled the settlement with Adrian. Was he alone with two high-powered lawyers? Right, one high-powered employment lawyer, David Parker. And even though, you know, people are telling me that David Parker's a good-hearted guy, I just can't imagine a scenario where he did the right thing here with that settlement. I just can't imagine a scenario where that ends up being, yeah, as we look back, say, yeah, that's the right thing. Anyway, mark my words. Obama's people, as we get closer to the, probably sooner than later, as we get closer to the primary, Obama's people are going to step in and say, Parker, you've got to go, you're hurting us, right? They do not want this continuing through June as the state convention comes up, the Democratic Party convention, Obama's nominating convention. They're not going to want that. So DC people are going to step in and they're going to clamp down and they're going to tell David Parker that he has to go. And I think that's going to happen sooner rather than later. And that pressure is probably already starting with, you know, Parker's announcement that he's not going to resign. I think that pressure is probably already starting now from people above Parker in Democratic circles. So I think this will resolve itself long before the June 17th meeting of the 700-person Democratic Party Executive Committee. Yeah, let's talk about ebooks. Yeah, you can tell me if I'm wrong. Remember that whole thing with the Justice Department a couple weeks ago? We didn't talk about this last week. The Justice Department going after the publishers for creating this agency model where they set the prices of their stuff, and then you know, Apple gets to take a solid third, and then nobody else could compete with Apple. I mean, it was just a sweetheart deal for Apple, is what it was. And the publishers are just trying to hurt Amazon, but I mean, there's nobody to root for here. There really is nobody to root for except authors. Authors, I'll root for authors. The publishers are doing the same thing. They're locked in the same mindset as the record companies were locked in at the beginning of their major crash. And throughout, even still, they're locked into it. They've got this tier where there's hardbacks at $30, then you milk that for as long as you can, and then you get a different audience for paperbacks at $15, then you milk that for as long as you can. And if we do ebooks at $9.95 and we release them at the same time as the hardbacks, we're just going to poach all that out, and we're not going to get any benefit from that, right? So we've got to keep the ebook prices artificially higher than the actual cost of the ebooks would necessitate, so that we don't poach our other sales, instead of saying, okay, step back. What's going to happen when we start making ebooks available? How many more copies are we going to sell at $9.95, right, for the ebooks? There's no doubt that ebooks are going to take over. No doubt about that. So how can we get on that and encourage people to do that? And instead of, we get people used to paying only $9.95 for an ebook, it's like, actually, why don't we go $7.95? We'll sell a lot more. I'm sorry. That's what I'm thinking. Or, you know, they're supposed to be thinking like this. Come up with new models. The record companies didn't do it. They clung. They tried to do everything they could to stop giving people what they want, which is quick, easy, cheap ebooks. They won't do it. They're still stuck in that old model that they know is dying. So the publishers, I don't have a whole lot of respect for their position in this. What was their solution? Well, let's screw over Amazon, because before they screw over us. Now Amazon, for its side, see, there's really no winning side here. There really isn't. Amazon, for its sake, is deliberately losing money to effectively put the publishers out of business. Amazon is also, with the other hand, luring James Patterson and big name authors that the publishers have built up, luring them so that they don't have to deal with publishers at all, and Amazon becomes the publisher. Amazon had 90% of the ebook market before this agency model. Now they're down to 60%. I think Barnes & Noble's Nook has 25% and Apple has 15%, something like that. Amazon, if they are allowed to get back up to 90%, what happens when the publishers disappear? I think this is a legitimate concern. Then Amazon can do whatever the hell it wants. That's not good either. And so I can't blame the publishers completely for looking at that and saying we've got to do something. But instead of, you know, finding new ways, they're going for this tightened, artificially inflated price thing that's just not, it wasn't sustainable. All right. Then, Apple, yeah, just do whatever, yeah, we'll facilitate it, just give us a third of everything, right? Oh, I don't think there's anything good about Apple's position in that either. Say it again? 30 seconds, okay. And the Department of Justice, don't even get me started about the Department of Justice. It's just such a weird time for them to do this, but I don't know. I mean, really? Amazon's the one that needs protecting right now? That's a high priority for the Justice Department, is to protect Amazon? Okay. All right, we'll see you next week. I'm predicting David Parker will resign within 2 weeks, and we'll see you, yeah, take care of each other.